Hi, and welcome to Leapcast. I'm here with Dustin Schmidt, and he is a chainmail creator, because not just necklaces, it sounds like.
I can make all kinds of stuff, yeah. Mostly I make necklaces, but I've made armor and a few other things over the years as well.
Yeah? How long ago did you get started?
About 20 years ago. Started early in college, watching Lord of the Rings and stuff. Since we had to do this interview twice, I actually thought of the thing that made me originally want to do chainmail is there's a thing called pop tab mail that you can make where you can make chainmail out of pop tabs and rings. And the movie First Night with good old Richard Gere infamously has pop tab mail in there. And I was so annoyed that pop tab mail was in a commercial feature flick that I started doing my own stuff. Because I'm like, if it's good enough for Hollywood, I can make that stuff. It's fine.
And what did you make first?
I made a chainmail hauberk that took me 4 years. I just started straight in on cutting my own rings, which took forever. Eventually switched over to commercially made rings because they're cheap and available. But yeah, it took 14 years and made a recreation of a 13th century German long shirt, put all the expansion joints in the right spot, and it took forever and a lot of research.
So a whole shirt was your first project?
Yeah. It took a while. I didn't realize what I'd committed to. I did a couple side projects. I took a year or two break in there, but I got back to it and eventually finished it up. We did test it. It stopped a broadsword pretty well. Put it over a hoodie and had a buddy of mine hit me with a two-handed broadsword that we had. It was great.
Does it still fit?
No, unfortunately.
Does it fit anybody?
I'm sure it fits somebody.
There might be somebody in the basement that it could fit.
That's chainmail weighs more than Duncan does entirely, so there's no way we're putting that
fair.
on there. That shirt, which was terrible protection, weighed 35 pounds. I'm a member of the Society of Creative Anachronism. We're a medieval reenactment organization, and I do the armored combat within that group. It's a lot of fun.
And who wears chains in the SCA?
Chains, usually brass chains, are worn by knights within the society. It's an acknowledgement of being a master of armored combat.
When did this go from, this is a hobby and a fun thing I do, to maybe I could make money?
Tomorrow when my store goes live.
Okay. That can't be the first time you thought of it.
No, I've mostly given my stuff away as presents over the years and made them on just short commission and barter and trade. But no, it's you see them around. They're all over the place within the medieval organizations and the reenactment groups, and they're not terribly hard to make. And I like to think I have a good eye for color and design on stuff, so figured I'd throw some stuff out there. I see my gift chains out and about in the wild, and it always makes me feel nice to see someone wearing my stuff. So
nice.
Making them commercially available, I think, will be fun. I've done online vending and other avenues in the past, so it's always fun getting a little side hustle going and have a passing project.
Do you do it at events, or do you only do it at home?
Only at home. I kick myself every time I go to an event that has court, which for people who are not in the SCA is when the royals do their stuff, and they can be long. And I always forget to bring a handicraft to court. One of these days I'll remember to actually bring my chainmail stuff to an event. I
can imagine that's a lot of moving pieces to haul around.
Oh yeah, and the first time you dump over a bin of parts on a room and have to clean up, 10,000 rings or so.
Yeah.
You never want to do it a second time.
Yeah, that might be a good reason to have a nice big table to work on.
Organization's good, yeah.
What is the strangest thing you've ever been asked to make?
I got asked to make a flogger that was a cat of nine tails out of aluminum rings. It got made. I didn't actually ever give it out because it was too cruel to hand to another human being.
What's the most intimidating thing you've made?
Probably that chainmail hauberk, because if you screw that up and have to unzip that and weave it doesn't fit, it takes some time. That was a long one. After that, everything just felt really easy and manageable.
So unzipping is what you would call when you undo it?
Yeah, so if you say make a shirt, it doesn't quite fit. You have to open that barrel up and then put an expansion into the entire thing. So you have to undo the entire length of the axis that you want to expand. It's not fun.
Got it.
Especially when you put all that time putting it together in the first place, having to undo it.
For sure.
Oof.
What's the coolest thing you've ever made?
Probably a chainmail dice bag that I made for a guy in my D&D group. It probably weighed about 5 to 7 pounds when I was done with it, and probably held a gallon of dice. A
gallon of dice.
Yeah.
A gallon seems very liquid for dice.
Dice flow just fine. You play D&D. You're a massive nerd, right, Driffa? Right, Driffa?
Anne has never played D&D. Ever.
What are you doing with your life?
I did watch the D&D movie for the second time last night.
It was great.
It was great. What is your favorite part of the process?
I like the initial planning stage where you come up with what weave you're going to do, you pick your colors, and you do that first little trial batch. And seeing the weave come together and become something that's not just like a plan or an idea, but an actual object that you can finish making. It's always really fun and satisfying.
Do you find that you're a fan of immediate gratification in your art?
Absolutely. We're making these are very tactile objects. They're fun to play with. They're fun to fidget with. So the experience of like making it and that is very satisfying. I like having that sense of play, because you don't wear chains a lot in your regular day-to-day life. Anytime you're going to pick up a chainmail necklace and wear it, it's usually an occasion or an event or something. So like having them be a satisfying like tactile object's always really fun to make.
They are fun to fidget with.
Which wasn't the question you asked me. You asked about immediate gratification, which is, I make chainmail. There's no immediate gratification. The stuff just takes hours and hours to make.
Fair.
So
That's
you
fair.
have to have some patience.
That's fair. How does your art reflect you and your values or your heritage, your sense of humor?
Probably not all in this case. I'm pretty irreverent, and chainmail takes methodical planning and organization. So it's kind of at odds with my normal personality. Because I'm definitely an ADHD gremlin, so sitting down and doing something for 4 to 6 hours that's repetitive, occasionally I have to be like, I need a break and do something else. So, but the end product's worth it. It is a fun process. I do end up finding it relaxing. After I get past that initial like, oh, I'm an ADHD girl, I need to sit down and craft. If sitting and doing it for a handful of hours, I find it to be an incredibly relaxing process after you're past that planning stage. So you have your weave, you know what you're doing, and now it's just do it another 1,000 times. And so I find it really relaxing. So chainmail is one of those things I do when I'm burnt out on other stuff. So it's kind of why I'm doing the shop. Is I just like making them. I'm making the chains. I need something to do with them, and I think they're pretty, and I think people will like them. So I'm happy.
So that kind of leads into, why did you decide on Drift Asleep?
Drift Asleep was interesting because you guys are doing a lot of creator-focused outreach, and I thought that was an interesting change of model. Like I've done online vendor stuff in the past, and a lot of the time it's just, here's your storefront, go forth. And you guys are doing a lot of vendor support on a pretty lightweight platform. It's not going to be very hard for me as a hobbyist to get just my listings up. We went over it earlier today. It's a super simple process. I'm excited to be able to just do that easily, interface with the customer easily, get them the chain, and then go on to just making projects. So I think Leap was attractive because it was so easy to use.
So if your art doesn't reflect you in very many ways, do you find that art has to have meaning, or is being utilitarian enough and useful?
You're asking what art is, because that's always what people mean with like, what does art represent to you? It's always the meaning of what is art.
Okay.
And that gets into art versus decoration. And I have a very novel way of defining art. I make decorative objects. I don't do art in my head. Because I define art as if I can make it, it's not art.
So you do not consider yourself an artist?
Absolutely not. I'm a craftsperson. I make things that are plannable, designable, and doable. Like there's nothing special about making this stuff that takes a special talent in my mind for making chainmail. It's just learn the process, get your hands to do it, and then continue on. And I think it's very different than some of the more abstract art styles like painting and sculpture, because chainmail is so discrete. Which it's one ring in a pattern, and that pattern just sort of exists.
Well, I think that you and I actually have a very similar way of looking at it. When somebody is really impressed with my tablet weaving, I'm like, anybody can do this.
Right.
It's mechanical. Anybody, and they're like, no, not everybody can do this.
But that's very different than saying, because I've dabbled in other artistic forms and it was terrible with them. I really like that kind of discrete, concrete nature where I don't have to question if a chain's done right or not. Either the weave's done right or not, or it's not.
Absolutely.
And that's part of that satisfaction of not necessarily looking for appreciation or gratification in the art. The act of making the object for me is the satisfaction about it, which is where coming into a commercial space is kind of interesting, because I've done this for so long, just giving my stuff away as presents and gifts and decorative objects. So that I was kind of thinking about that the other day of like, why am I selling my stuff? And it's so that people can experience something that I think is pretty. And so they have access to it. They have the ability to say, I like that, and I can get it. But that's very different than in my mind than trying to make a, say, unique artistic object. As much as I take immense satisfaction out of my weaves, like I've got these two that you've been eyeballing. And I think of things as spring and August, because I definitely was like, okay, I have rings, what is the color? And so you've got, your pink and bloom, and then you've got your full like, fall, you got the green and the decay in there. So I do definitely put some thought and some interest into like the designs and like where I'm thinking of it. But a lot of time it's you picking brass with it. Say like this is the one I make the most often is a box chain with a 1-in-1 chain embedded inside. It's just pick two colors. But like I take a lot of satisfaction in like what outfits does this work with? What colors do these represent? And that I found those intangibles when I was giving them as gifts were always really meaningful. So it was always be less about like the process and more about the relationship of giving someone a chain was always a meaningful thing. Because it was, especially within like the hobby space I exist in, it's a mark of respect and admiration on that kind of chain giving, gifting culture. And so I'm viewing a lot of this as giving people access to, I think highly of someone, I'd like to give them a present, I've attained something, I want something to mark that status. And so it's more in that relation of what that chain means to the person than the object itself that I find a lot of meaning in. So because art's a very wide space, and the one thing that I've always found in artistic spaces that you can't kind of bicker and debate about and go with, oh, what is art, what isn't art, is what it meant to a specific person. And the emotions that it evokes are so unique to that person that that's the real beauty in art for me, is less in, it's in those intangibles, I think.
It's more in the person's reaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the meaning to them.
Yeah, and for me personally, it's the making. I like that tactile, I like working with my hands. So I find the process very satisfying for me, just myself. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get the tension right. Because if I lock this all the way through and then do this, you see it's going to kink at the bottom. So I'm trying to, what I'm doing right now is detensioning it. The appropriate number of spins so that it doesn't unweave, so the weave is still visible, but it doesn't do that. I think I'll go a little more high reedy room.
Goodness, are you going to sit right there?
Will this look great on you, sweetie?
Aww.
Is this good dog chain? We could put a little pinchy on this and make this your dog chain. You could be Sir Eurydice. Sir Snug Dog.
What advice would you give to somebody just starting out in this?
Just start opening and closing links. You're going to need to get forearm strength for this one, especially if you're working in steel or brass. Start with aluminum. It's easy to work with. It'll give you time to play with links. Aluminum's easily available. It's cheap. It's soft. It's very forgiving. Don't dive into precious metals. You're going to screw up rings. You're going to torque stuff. You're going to make leave plier marks all over stuff. There's definitely a learning curve to making these things solid and right. But just start. Just start playing with rings and finding simple patterns and saying, how do I figure it out? There's tons of tutorials for this stuff online. It's not hard to find information on how to make chainmail. The thing that always stops people from doing it is how long it takes and how much strength it takes. So building your hand skills to be able to use pliers dexterously and quickly, it just takes time and hours.
And you don't have very many tools here. No, I see 2 tools.
I use 2 small pliers, and that's what I use. I order commercially available rings, and I just have a pair of non-ridged pliers. They work pretty well for almost everything. I do have another set of tools downstairs where I have some, if I'm doing very, very fine work, I've got a pair of very, very small pliers for doing some of the tighter weaves. But they're not really, like for what I'm working on right now, they're not very good for like the larger brass, so you want a heavier pair of pliers. I've been doing this long enough that I got the forearm strength. I used to turn screws professionally doing repair work, so I've got the forearm strength to use light pliers. If you're just starting out, some of the like bigger sets of pliers give a little more leverage, but they're a little less nimble, so there's definitely a trade-off in what kind of pliers you're using in the space. I'm sure it's similar to weaving and knitting tools, where finding the right kind of tool is important.
Yeah, that's for sure. So obviously you make chains, and you've made a shirt. Are you willing to make other things?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy some of making like pouches and dice bags and similar stuff than that. With chainmail, you can do all kinds of stuff. I've done some captive bead work in the past and captive rings. So there's a whole variety of like chainmail sculpture you can make, because if you get the ratios right, it sort of structurally locks together and you can build out of it similar to other things. I've seen like chainmail stuffed animals effectively. It's something I've ever done. I'll probably be sticking to chains, maybe some pouches, maybe some other sort of things. I've been thinking about some chains with like some slide collars and stuff on them. That would be kind of fun to play with. So there'll be definitely some
slide collars.
Yeah, you know,
like dog collars.
100%. So there's definitely a lot of demand for all kinds of things out there, and I definitely plan on having some of that stuff on my shop. So it won't just be regular chains. There'll be some fidget toys as well, because you make chainmail fidget balls.
Yeah, I'm fidgeting with it the entire time. Apparently,
they're really satisfying, aren't they?
It really feels like you're right. It is very tactile.
Yeah.
It moves the way it moves, and it's just fun.
Yeah, they're great fidget toys.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thanks for coming along on this journey with us.
I'm excited to see where it takes us.
Alrighty, well, have a great day.